Basic Appraisal Principles, page 530. Unit 7, Real Estate Markets, Understanding and Analyzing. Figure 18.4, Example of Assemblage. It shows parcel A is valued at $15,000. It is 150 feet by 60 feet. Parcel B is valued at $15,000. It is also 60 feet by 150 feet. Here it shows the combined parcel. The value as assembled is $60,000. It is 120 feet by 150 feet. For example, parcels A and B are the same size, both 60 feet by 150 feet, and are adjoining parcels. They are individually valued at $15,000 each. When these two parcels are combined under one owner, through the process of assemblage, the entire parcel, both A and B combined, becomes large enough to accommodate a superior investment, for instance, a retail development, and the value becomes $60,000. The plottage value is $35,000. The incremental value created by assemblage of the parcels. The use of a site as if improved should be physically possible in terms of design, condition, and usefulness of improvements. The existing or proposed improvement should be able to accommodate any necessary alterations to result in the property's use, such as remodeling the existing floor plan or adding square footage. The existing or proposed improvement must be able to structurally handle renovations without repairing extensive deferred maintenance that might be cost prohibitive. The physically possible tests are further investigated and supported using data gathered in the market analysis and through the highest and best use analysis to do the following. Identify past and present uses on the property and in the market. Identify the types of uses that are not supported by the area. Consider alternative uses. All results must be supported using data gathered during the market analysis process. Legally permissible. The legally permissible test refers to limitations such as zoning, building codes, ordinances, environmental regulations, variances, and amendments to land uses, restrictions in deeds and covenants, other regulations, and non-conforming property. A property's use must be legally permissible, or it is not an option. The following may be considered for both land uses as if vacant and is if improved. Zoning regulations can have a great effect on the legal permissibility of the subject property's use. The appraiser should consider whether the property's use complies with the current or future zoning plans. The situation may also reveal that the subject property's use complied with zoning, but a zoning change occurred, and now the property's use is considered a non-conforming, which means grandfathered use. It is the responsibility of the appraiser to determine whether the highest and best use of the subject property is permitted under current or future zoning. Legally non-conforming grandfather. A use that was lawfully established and maintained but no longer conforms to the regulations of the current zoning in the zone where it is located. Page 531. If the property's use is not supported by current zoning, but future zoning changes do support the use, then the appraiser may determine that the highest and best use of the property is a use that is not currently allowed. This would require detailed explanation in the reporting and conclusion of the appraisal. In this explanation, the appraiser may include the reasonable probability of the zoning change, including any expenses that might occur and the timeline for the change. In addition, the appraiser may explain the risk involved should the zoning change not occur. Building codes are another restriction that commonly affects the highest and best use of a property. For example, regulations to comply with strict environmental and health codes in the construction of a new home might be cost prohibitive. Or perhaps there are restrictions on height, square footage, or setbacks that prohibit the property's use. Other legal issues to consider include historic preservation regulations, environmental regulations affecting air and water quality, or preservations of wetlands. Financially feasible. Thus far in the highest and best use analysis process, the appraiser has eliminated potential property uses that do not pass the physically possible and legally permissible tests. The next test in the highest and best use analysis process is to determine whether the property's use can pass the financially feasible test. To be financially feasible, the revenue or value generated as a result of the property's use must be adequately exceed the expenses incurred. Some of this decision making is based on the supply and demand for the potential use that was gathered in the market analysis process. Does the market show there is a demand for the potential use? Are there participants willing to purchase the property under the property's use? When testing financial feasibility for a site as if vacant, the revenue generated as a result of the property's use must exceed the expenses incurred by development of the property's use. For instance, cost of land, construction, and profit for developer. Financial feasibility for a site as if improved will be reflected in the remaining economic life of the improvement. If the remaining economic life of the improvement is long enough to fulfill the needs of the property's use, then this may be a feasible project. If, however, the remaining economic life of the improvement is very limited, then the question of rehabilitation or remodeling comes into play. The appraiser may determine through analysis whether the expenses incurred through rehabilitation or remodeling of the improvement will be recouped and result in an increase in either the anticipated sales price or the revenue stream. This is called the curability, or the cost to cure of the property's use. Essentially, the appraiser can ask, does the curability of the property's use extend the remaining economic life long enough to recoup costs and allow the improvement to realize a higher value or increase in revenue?